flush out whatever happened in play before. I think I can attribute it kind of to acting. You know, with acting, like, you can audition for something 100 times. Like, you're gonna hear 99 no's before you hear a yes. So I feel like I've gotten to the point where now if I do mess up or I make a mistake or somebody tells me no or somebody tells me something I don't like I'm easily able to, like, okay, I heard it, I see it, I made the mistake, it's out of my head and I'm moving forward. I think that mindset carries over into football as a life lesson as well. It's funny, I started off in a music video. That was my first ever acting job. I was 4 years old, I think. It was for this music video called My Doorbell by the White Stripes. My uncle, he's a director, so he had mentioned to my dad, you should get him into modeling and stuff like that. So I took little headshots and all that. Then it kind of steamrolled on to, doing print work, modeling, then little commercials, and then progressed from there. When I was young, it was kind of just me, something my parents were putting me into, but over time, I think that I really appreciated the different types of people that I'd interact with, and that's probably one of my favorite things. So I think that, once I got to the age, when I was 11 or 12, I was like, okay, I really enjoy this. I want to take this a little more seriously, and that's why I started to, pursue it more. Space Jam was a huge blessing. I think I definitely learned a lot from being on that set. There was the most elite level athletes that are a part of the film. So getting to learn from somebody like LeBron James and just in the terms of the way he attacks his sport was second to none. Seeing the way that he took care of his body throughout filming, he's getting massages or he's making sure he wakes up and works out before we have to start filming. You know what I'm saying? So stuff like that kind of just showed me the effort that you have to put into to be an elite level athlete. Running thousands with the Gold Rush, to 6 a.m. lifting at Loyola. The NFL is a goal and a dream of mine, and I knew that I had to get into a place where I could really hone in on that. So that was one of the reasons that I transferred here. At the end of the day, football, you have a real time clock on playing. You're only young for a certain amount of time, and there's a pathway in terms of getting to where you want to be. So that's why I realized that I have to put my effort into here. And acting is something that you could do until you're however many years old. So it was in my head. It's I want to focus on my football career. And when acting opportunities arise down the future, then that's when I'll be able to get back to doing that. When I was in high school, people were always asking, when are you gonna do this? When are you gonna stop playing football? Or when are you gonna stop acting? There was probably a small part of me that was I want to prove people wrong, that I can do both of these things. You know what I'm saying? And I did that. But at the end of the day, it was on me to decide, okay, I want to put my energy into this right now. I think that's one of the most important things that I want people to know. I think that people shouldn't allow themselves to be boxed in because of something that somebody else says. At the end of the day, you, and if you have a passion or a dream, there shouldn't be somebody else telling you to not pursue it. I watch some clips of myself at my old school sometimes, and I see me doing things that I would never do now because of my knowledge of the game, and I would attribute that to the coaches. I think that they do a really great job of teaching us, teaching us football. I think the way that I've grown the most as a player is in my knowledge of the game. I'm a lot more confident now. I think, coming in last year, I was a new player, obviously, having to learn the system, having to learn the players, having to learn the coaches. And I'd say that, a year in this structure and a year at this school has given me, the opportunity to do all that.
It is Ceyair Wright down the sideline into his former house. Unbelievable.
I'm very thankful for God for just opening this door for me. I'm thankful to my family members that pushed me here and Coach Rule for bringing me here. I think it's been one of the best decisions that I've ever made to transfer here, just because I didn't really know much about Nebraska prior to coming. Being here, it's shown me how much perspective that you gain just by being somewhere else. I think that, we're all raised in certain areas of the world or certain areas of the country. And if you don't travel and move somewhere else or live in a different area, you never really get the opportunity to learn something else or learn something more. And just being here has kind of allowed me to slow my life down and focus on the things that really matter to me. So I'm extremely, extremely grateful and thankful that I was able to make it out here. This is a place where, family is a really big thing. And that's truly how it feels within the locker room, just within the walls of the facility. So I'm really honored just to be able to be in that position. I'm glad that I've gotten to come here and meet all these different people that I otherwise wouldn't have ever got the chance to meet, And so meeting all these great people and learning from them and them learning from me has been just valuable for me as a person, outside of all the football stuff.